Today I'm with Al Hulley. Al is a physical therapy assistant at Meeting Street. Al, tell us how your role has evolved and changed since the onset of the COVID pandemic.
So it's been a big change. I know it is for everybody. The whole isolation, being at home, that type of thing. But basically, especially I deal at Meeting Street with the kids that are severe and profound is really the basis of the kids that we're dealing with, the population. And so we have kids, we work on a lot of ambulation, but a lot of our kids need a lot of motivation. They need a lot of sensory integration. And then you can sort of do your therapy. And it's the whole thing of just changing of what you're doing, how you relate to the students, trying to make those appointments when you see them, right? It's just a completely, different feel to it. I think that's and like I said, those original things that you do, first you got to motivate them. Then you got to sort of see do they have any sensory needs you got to deal with, and then you can sort of do your therapy. Yeah. And those first two things are a lot more difficult to do, right? When you're remote from that person.
Yeah. How are you managing? Tell us how you're managing to do that. Like, are you getting the caregivers involved? Like, how are you doing it?
Well, so currently that's the biggest thing. And every kid is it's an individual case every time. And so depending on what the caregivers are, we've had some where we're working with, they all have nurses at home. So we're working with the nurses to do what we're trying to do. We have some parents that have been involved. Some of the people have personal care assistants. So each and then we have a number of them that the parents are just too busy. They have other kids at home that they're now being a teacher. They're actually have jobs. So they're working from home. They've got students, kids that are students at home, plus they have a special needs child at home. Yeah. So their time frame is just absolutely critical. I mean, they just, our little time that we're trying to get from them, they may or may not have. Right?
How's your approach, or how have your goals changed during this time?
I think the goals have really become much more. I've always felt that my job is easy in that I have to do whatever right for the kid and their parents, right? And so now I'm still doing that, but it's sort of changed a bit in that I'm becoming more of an advocate. I've actually had parents that are having issues with other parts of what's going on. They can't reach somebody. So I've gone ahead and been that person to go and help them on that type of thing. I've got parents that say, look, there's really nothing that I can do right now on the PT side. My real issues are in speech language, that type of thing. And that's where I want to put my effort. So we've really just sort of backed off and said, we're here. We might send a little reminder, okay? So everyone, and it makes sense. We think about each one of these kids has an individual education plan. Yeah. So really trying to think back to what are their individual needs, right? And what can we accomplish? The other thing that's interesting is that, we talk about how do we communicate? Well, so far, I've got parents that I talk to on the phone. I got parents that I Zoom with. I got parents that I text with. I get parents I send emails with. So you're using all of these different vehicles to go ahead and talk to them. Yeah. One of the other things is things that you wouldn't even think of. I've got parents taking pictures of their kids in a device, in a stander, and just texting me the picture and saying, how do they look? What do you think? Do I have them in there properly? So where that's part of what we're doing, but it's not in their IEP. It's not one of their goals, okay? They should be getting in the stander every day for 45 minutes or whatever our time period is. Yeah. But it's sort of a completely different approach. You're really, you're very involved through the entire process now, right? Trying to help them whatever way you can.
I hear everyone on telehealth seems to be becoming so much more creative and treating the person as a whole and all of those things which you're alluding to.
So one of the things we found to be able to connect is we're joining with the occupational therapists and the speech pathologists in their sessions. And it's helping the parents in that rather than having 3 separate sessions. And we do a lot of co-treating at work too. That's a fairly common model for us to do, right? But this really allows the parents to go ahead and take that time. So once a week, they're seeing, somebody from PT, someone from OT, and someone from speech all at the same time. So it's a 1.5 hour session, right? And so we'll interact with them. We'll see what the parent needs. These would be your kids that, maybe they're non-ambulatory, non-verbal, right? So you're really just trying to help the parent as they're coping with, how how to communicate with the child, what might be going on, what issues they may be having for equipment, right? And you're sort of hoping you're in that situation where all of a sudden they open up. You know, the speech pathologist will say something and that leads you to something else that you want to do.
What have you learned so far through this pandemic? Is there any skills that you've learned that will ultimately help you as a clinician?
That waving your hands around sometimes doesn't activate the kids like it doesn't. Right? I'm learning to look up things on my phone while I'm talking to them so that I can go ahead and also play, move it, videos and things
Yeah.
like that. I think from a personal standpoint, it's back to trying to really be organized. Before I go there, have a plan. Today we had a very good session we were doing stretching. So the PT and myself were on at the same time. We were basically instructing a PCA on what we wanted to do. Now, we'd had a pre-plan on this thing that said we are only going to do everything in a planar motion. We aren't going to do a lot of rotation. We don't do anything that's going to cause any risk at all to the child. Okay? So, and just watching that, and luckily this is one of the kiddos that can basically tell you when, if you've reached sort of an end limit, all right, type of thing. But that's just such a different thing. There's so many of those things that you feel it as a therapist are where you should be. And now you're instructing them, you're showing them, you're being very cautious, very slow. So it's really, I'm sure by the time I'm done with this, that skill set of teaching someone else to be my hands is really going to be something that's going to come out. Yeah. But I don't think there's any way of, as you're really doing some aggressive stretching, that you can teach someone how to do that unless you that's the difficulty. Yeah. On a personal level, just being able to be more organized. All of the things on, I just was spending all my time, I'd have a Zoom meeting scheduled with somebody, but I wouldn't have to be able to connect in. So I'm back looking at emails. So now I'm loading all that information into my calendar. So everybody's scheduled, everything's connected there because I'm not always making the appointments. Organizing my files, finding things, knowing when they are. Before I get on the session, having it already open, okay? So that now I share my screen, it's right there. I'm not looking in my files to find something to pull up, okay? So I'm not sure, it's a set of skills, okay? Okay? But how valuable, I suppose if I started doing a remote teaching course or something like that, it'd be quite valuable. It's not part of my goals, right?
I'm trying to look at the opportunities that we're all dealing with through this time, even though it's a very, very challenging time. Well, Al, I certainly feel for you and your team, and especially the kids. The kids are obviously the people that we think about the most during this time. So
I think one of just a real quick thing is that what you realize though is even for your kids that are nonverbal, that they react to your voice. Yeah. You can go on and be on there, and the parents appreciate that, the kids appreciate that, right? They may not respond to you visually, but they definitely, for most of us, there's definitely a sort of connection that's there. Yeah. And I think keeping that connection in itself is going to be valuable as we, get back to school and that type of thing. I know it's valuable for me to see them and see how they react. So. Yeah.
It's a great point. We're so lucky we can do that telehealth so these kids can still have access to care and access to those other, at least even hearing, if not seeing their providers. Any words of wisdom or advice that you would have for any other PTs or PTAs out there treating kids especially?
I think that you sort of have to look at every single case individually, and you have to basically figure out what the parents want, right? Because they're really your key, because with this population, you're not getting the child's consent, you're getting the parents' consent and then their time to be able to do these things. And trying to make sure that everything relates individually back to that is real. Which is not any different than we're trying to do anyways, right? We're trying to do what the parents need, all right? What are they looking for? What's important to them, right? So I think that's probably that key. I think also is success it's a different measure of success now. Success is the fact that I got someone to smile. Success is that I was able to show the mother how to get the child to sit on a box. We used a box. We didn't have a bench. We used a box of diapers that she could sit on with her back supported with the couch and the mom guarding. All right, so we could get into a nice sitting posture rather than Taylor sitting on the floor. But, those are that sort of thing. Be resourceful. Just try different things. And if it doesn't work, right? Try something else. And the other thing for me is, and especially this, is being safe. Making sure whatever you do is not going to cause any harm. I think that's the thing that we're most worried about, right? We're not right there. We're so used to guarding them and being right there. And yes, do we make mistakes? It does happen. But now you're asking someone else to do those things. So, but everything's different. And you're going to be successful. I think your definition of success has to change. You've got to back down from what you think is success or not.
Well, great point, Sal. Thank you so much for your time, and all the best to your team at Meeting Street.
Okay, thank you very much. Good luck, everybody. Stay safe.